Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Chase the Sunrise. Enoch here, and we finally have it. We have our land. This is ours. We have two parcels. One is bought outright, the other one is still in process of being absorbed into our deed, but we'll give you the lowdown on what's happening here.
Hey, baby.
We've been waiting since March 2024 to acquire this property, and we finally signed the deed in January of 2026. So let me just give you some background on what went on during those almost 2 years. So when we started looking for property in middle to late 2023, we were really intent on getting land, but we didn't rule out anything. So we looked at quite a few properties all the way down from Lisbon all the way up to the north of Portugal. And there were a few that we showed interest in. Most of the properties that we looked at were in rural areas. In fact, I think all of them were in rural areas, in villages or hamlets. And all of them had a lot of land on them, and they all needed renovations. So after lengthy discussions between myself and my wife, we decided that we really were intent on land only. Some of them were too expensive for us, and one of the original goals for coming to Portugal was to be debt-free. We made some very well thought out decisions, and so we were able to be debt-free before we got here. And so we didn't want to add another mortgage and put ourselves in another position to owe money to the banks, basically. So we decided to go fully debt-free and do the project as we had the money for it. And then this property showed up. Bridget had it kind of in the back of her mind because the property was actually pretty small in comparison to what we had been looking for and what we actually wanted. We actually compromised. Probably the only compromise we did on this property was the size. And we only chose to go with this property because there was another parcel, which is the farm area that you're seeing behind me, that we asked the neighbor if he wanted, and we agreed on a price, and then we were going to buy two parcels of land, the one that was actually being sold, and then this one which we wanted to use for the farm area. Initially, I didn't want this property because it didn't have what I imagined Portugal to be. I kind of over-romanticized it a little bit, and so it didn't have any views, it didn't have an established garden, it didn't have terraces, didn't have established trees and stuff like that, and so I didn't really pay attention to it. Plus it was too small. It was about 1,000 square meters, and we wanted at least 2,500 square meters. And so with the extra land that we would have bought, it would just add about 530 odd square meters to our existing property. So that was one of the reasons why I just kept putting it off and putting it off. However, it did tick off every other box that we had of the things we wanted. It was close to a beach that we liked. It had all the amenities, hospital, a clinic, medical center, shops and that kind of stuff. And it was relatively peaceful and quiet. So it ticked off all the other boxes, and except for the size. So eventually we looked at it and we decided to go for it. Here's what needed to be done before we could purchase this property. First, the land had to actually be split. It wasn't split at the time that we came to see it. So a topographer came out and measured everything. That had to be submitted to the Câmara, which is the local city council. That had to be registered with the conservatory, with the land registry. And then once the council had the land registry's confirmation back, then we could apply for a construction project to be built on the land. In the meantime, in the background, there was a PDM meeting, which is the Master Municipal Planning Committee, and they hadn't gotten together for about 15 years. And so that meeting was very overdue, and they kept postponing it and postponing it and postponing it. Lucky for us, eventually they were going to have the meeting, and we asked one of the architects to put in an emergency generic project in, and we got that by the skin of our teeth. And that was one of the big reasons, one of the things that we were waiting for in order to buy this property, because if we had to buy the property and the PDM had to change the classification of the region, we wouldn't be able to build here. So what they did was they blacked out a portion of land in an urban section at that time before the PDM meeting, reserved for construction. After the PDM, almost all that land became agricultural, so we wouldn't have been able to build on it anyway. So we got that by the skin of our teeth. Then the other thing that we were looking at is this farmland. So because the PDM was over, we couldn't split this property from our property or from the original property, the seller's property. It was just not possible due to some percentages of rural versus urban. There's a bit of a complication. I still don't quite understand it, but it's not allowed to be split. So our lawyers found a workaround to absorb the land that we use as farmland eventually into our property. Once all the projects are complete on our property and we have a habitation license, we can ask for this land to be absorbed because it's the land that we're using for agriculture and for farming and stuff like that. And so that's in the agreement and part of the deed. And so, yeah, that's the long process that we had to undergo over almost 2 years to acquire the land. But we've got it now. We've also got a well on the farm. I'll call it the farmland, the farm area, that we will be sharing with our neighbor. Our neighbor's pretty cool. Actually, the whole family's pretty cool, and we're really glad we have them as neighbors. They've been very kind to us, and we look forward to growing our friendship with them. I think Mike will probably be involved in the work. He's, I think, more excited about this project than we are, and that's saying something. So we look forward to that. So now the challenge will be waiting for all the documents to go through to the proper authorities, for them to register everything so that we can then apply our architect plan to the area reserved for construction on our property, and to go forward with that. In the meantime, we can start working on the farm area. We want to eventually have this flattened in the next couple of months, more or less, and start going through plans for designing it and for the soil doesn't need much correction. It probably just needs weeds taken out. It's actually very, very good soil for growing stuff. We're in a zone 10.5, and so that gives us it gives us the opportunity to grow a lot of different kinds of fruits and vegetables, and also we've got a lot of humidity and salt in the air. We can't grow everything that we want, but we certainly can experiment. We will have a greenhouse, but that's in another video that will come out soon, discussing what the design is going to be and what we're going to do with this farmland here. I mean, we realize we're not spring chickens anymore. We're over 50, but we want to do something that's meaningful to us. We're tired of living just as, in survival mode, and we want to do something that we can show, do something with our hands that is tangible, that we built ourselves, and grow our own food, collect rainwater, and do things that challenge us and put us outside of our comfort zone, because we've been too comfortable for too long. And we really want to do something that's meaningful to our lives and something that'll last for a long time. So I hope you'll join us on our journey as we dare to live bravely. And thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate every one of you, and we'll see you in the next one. And if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you know when we're putting out another video. Go do that right now. See ya.